Welcome back to Up in the Blue Seats, our New York Rangers podcast from the New York Post. I'm former Ranger Brian Boyle, joined by my co-host, Rangers beat writer for the Post, Mollie Walker, and our Hall of Famer from the Post, Larry Brooks. He's back from Vermont. Join us this week. It's great timing for a new episode after a wild match last night. Wild third period and overtime anyway. Big points. Rangers clinch a playoff spot. Let's get in. Want to run it down here? They clinch a spot.
Mm-hmm.
First team to 100 points. How many wins they have, Molly?
Oh God, 40. I didn't even look at it.
Kind of a pop quiz. Sorry, 48.
Yeah, 48. Yep.
And we got to give some love here. I will go first with Lavi. 800 wins. And Molly told me fourth fastest to do that in terms of how many games he's coached. I think it's 1502. I think that's right. 800 wins for Peter Laviolette. Great coach, good man. Love playing for him. So congrats to Lavi. Other milestones?
3 points for Artemi Panarin, 3 assists to get him up to 102. First 100-point campaign of his NHL career. It's a big one.
Yeah,
What a
remember,
season.
Too.
remember in the off season and even in training camp where some people were speculating that Panarin could not play for Laviolette. Laviolette was just going to be too demanding for him, and
Oh, I didn't even see that discourse, to be honest.
he was going to
Who said
force
that,
him.
Larry?
He was going to force him to forecheck. No,
Let's expose him.
no present company. But
No,
it's
I
true.
wanna-
There was
I
a lot
wanna
of
expose
speculation that he wasn't going to be able to play for Laviolette. That the structure, there was going to be too much structure for Artemi, and I think we've seen how he responded, I think, to last year.
Yeah.
And to last year's playoffs, to the kind of funky relationship he had with the coach. It didn't stop him from performing. That's for sure. But there were, you remember how many times Panarin needed to explain himself and needed to explain his game, and he can do this at the blue line and he can't do that at the blue line. And he wants to do
Stupid
this,
shit at the blue line. That was one of the
well,
best quotes of all time.
yeah, well, you said it.
Family show, Molly.
So yeah,
Sorry.
the lady from the Post is.
I'm not dulling that quote. I can't.
You didn't say it.
You
He
just
did.
can't. Yeah, he said it, not me.
Oh, but you've had none of that this year. None. It's just like go play.
Yeah.
He's just going out and playing, and it's similar to Lafreniere in a sense that he spent the last couple of years trying to explain himself, and there were instances where the coach would say something that Lafreniere would have to respond to, and there was really
do things.
no cogent response, and this year it's been just play, just go play. So there were a couple of guys who, and listen, and for the Rangers to be here, no one foresaw this. I'm sorry. Like nobody thought the Rangers were going to be first overall with two and a half weeks to go in the season. Nobody.
Brian's like, you sure?
They're not running away with it, but I thought they were going to be pretty good. Did we not think they were going to be?
No, I think people thought that they were going to be good. I don't know if you would have said that they were going to, sit in first place in the Metro since October 24th and be the first team to clinch a playoff spot, be the first team to 100 points. I don't know about all that, but yeah, definitely that they were going to be good or at least competitive. But I think that they have definitely exceeded expectations for sure.
Well, it's impressed me. There's a lot of things throughout the year and individuals too, but the way that Carolina's been playing and the way that they've continued. I mean, wasn't a Picasso last night, but they got it done. So that's what's been impressive to me.
I loved Larry, your quotes from Mika last night about how Carolina has won the division the last 3 seasons or whatever it's been, and the Rangers won it this time. Mika
was pretty emphatic about about wanting to win the division, about having that objective in mind. It was the next objective, and he could have just brushed it off like, well, home ice isn't that important, whatever. But he made it pretty clear that the Rangers are aiming for first place and are aiming to take down Carolina. Because he said, God, Carolina's what, won it three years? We won it. And they've been there all year. It's so, I don't think, you look at playoff matchups and home ice, and I'm not sure that that's critical to the Rangers. But I think they want to feel good about themselves going into the playoffs too. And
it's a mentality thing.
Yeah, it's a mentality, I think.
I think that comes down from Lavi. I think that what I remember in Nashville, he wanted to win that division. He wanted that Central when I got there, and that was a big goal. He said, this is the first thing we can check off our list.
Yeah.
So that was what they were working towards until playoffs started, right? So you have a clear-cut goal. This is what we're working towards, and then until the next one comes, if you get it or you don't. And that's I'm not sure, but I would assume that comes down from the head coach. They're echoing sort of what's been put in front of them. Here's the challenge. It's a good challenge to have. It keeps you focused. It keeps you doing the right things. The more you do, see, I get that there's that President's Trophy curse, and everybody, and Lavi addressed it, I think, last week. Was that Lazarus's question, by the way? I think it might have been. All right.
It probably was.
I like Johnny. And it's a somewhat fair question, but if you want to look at it the way the players look at it and the way a coach would look at it, let's do the right things as consistently as we can, as long as we can. And the chips fall where they are. We'll adjust. We'll see. If you give me your best, right? If I'm a coach, if you give me your best, I can make the most informed decision on what can make us the most successful. So let's play our best. If you have a throwaway game, not only do you not get 2 points and the players are bummed out, oh, we lost, whatever. Some guys might be like, oh, I didn't play good. Maybe I'm coming out or whatever. The coach is like, I don't even know how to adjust this because you didn't even give me what you're supposed to give me in terms of how I can make adjustments in a playoff series. When everyone's giving me their best and we're falling short here and there, I can make adjustments with all the information. So he wants them to be playing their best for a lot of reasons. You can't just turn a switch. So focusing on that division, I think, is important.
And that was something that Laviolette said from day one. I mean, from his introductory press conference, he was preaching that kind of stuff about how playoff hockey is not a switch that you can just turn on, and that it has to become, I love this stuff, like the poeticness of it. It has to become like who you are, part of your DNA. He said something the other day, like you are what you eat, like if you are that every day, then that's what you are. Like that kind of stuff, I feel like is so highly motivating. But I'm wondering, Brian, like just from like a player's point of view, what is it like when you, I don't know how many times you've done this in your career, but when you do clinch a playoff spot so early in the regular season with so many games left, what is the approach to the rest of the season? How do you view, is it tough to get up for those 10 games? Is it, do you want to look at it as an opportunity to, hone in on your game, to gain chemistry? Just what is like the approach when you're in that sort of situation?
In 2012, we were up near the top of the league for a while. And, our coach was demanding and wanted us to, play the right way all the time. We knew we couldn't take our foot off the gas because it was, drilled into us for 3 years prior. So it was just play the right way. There was no, resting guys. There was none of that.
Yeah.
The coach didn't believe in that, and we wanted to continue to chip away. Like personally, it wasn't the same statistical year as I had the year before, but it was a different role, and I was proud of it. But I also wanted to get some goals, so I kind of went on a heater at the end, which was nice. But we lost to Buffalo at home with a chance to win the President's Trophy.
Oh,
I had a goal in that game, and it put us down by 2 or 3 or whatever. We were just kind of trying to climb our way back. I remember being so mad. Like we could win the President's Trophy right now, like the only team, and people didn't think it mattered, but it mattered to us. And we just, Buffalo came in and they were out of it, obviously, because it was in the last 15 years, and they just beat us, and I couldn't believe it. I was so mad. We let it slip, and a lot of guys were. It was just so we find different goals and motivations, not unlike what Lavi's doing now, not unlike what Mika's saying now. And for him to say that, and then, I liked his game last night.
Yeah.
He's been coming a little bit. That's a great sign. For him to say that, it's a great thing. A big leader on the team that needs to be at his best this time of year. He needs to continue to do it throughout the rest of the regular season.
Yeah. I thought that was one of the most encouraging, if not the most encouraging aspect of last night's game, other than the fact that they kept coming back and, kept clawing back and won this zany game. But I thought that Zibanejad played well last night, and I thought he was a real factor, and he's going to need to be a factor, and everyone knows it. He knows it. So you want him. The Rangers and Ranger fans want him to be in a good mindset going into the playoffs. You want him feeling confident going into the playoffs. You need him at his best. There's no doubt about that.
What a time, though. What a time for him. Like, there's been questions, and I went on to a Toronto media worried about pressure, right? Like, you get to be the guy on the New York Rangers that they need to carry them in. And there's a lot of guys, you need Shesterkin, and you need Fox, you need Panarin and Trocheck, and you need all these other guys, but you're the guy that can change a series. Like, that's not pressure to me. That's like, look what you get to do. Like, look at your opportunity here. I would just get so excited for that. I would try to channel it that way anyway. So hopefully he does.
And we've got more injury news. The Rangers were also without Eric Gustafsson against
Bad news,
the Flyers. Sorry. Just recapping. They're now down 3 of their top 6 defensemen, but encouraging signs. Jacob Trouba and Ryan Lindgren were both on the ice for the optional morning skate the other day. They were in regular jerseys. Rangers clarified that they don't wear red non-contact for optional skates, but I still think that it was an encouraging sign that both of them were out there. It was the first time they were back with the team. And I mean, Lindgren was in a red non-contact the other day at practice. And I mean, what was that? 6 days from the injury that everybody thought was going to be season ending.
Yeah.
So just another Iron Man feather in Ryan Lindgren's cap, an absolute animal. Wouldn't be surprised if he beat Jacob Trouba back to lineup, honestly, at this point, at the rate that they're both going. But yeah, the Rangers should hopefully get maybe 5 games, 6 games with their full lineup. And the Rangers were also without Alex Wenberg against the Flyers for personal reasons that we speculate is his wife giving birth, because when the Rangers first traded for him, he said that she was like 37, 38 weeks pregnant or something. And that was however many weeks ago. So putting 2 and 2 together, but
that's close to full term for those who don't know.
Brian's the expert on
40
such
weeks.
a topic.
Yeah, Brian's the expert.
But yeah, for them to have that game without 4 regulars and to be playing the way that they have without their top defenseman, you can't really understate that enough. It's really impressive how they've been able to do this, and they've been doing it all season long. In their first season in a really long time, where they've struggled with injuries consistently, have taken hit after hit, 2 season-ending injuries, Filipino, Blake Wheeler. They've had it like everybody else this season, which hasn't been that way for a while. So I definitely think that more should be made of that for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, congrats to Brandon Scanlin. First game.
He had a really good attitude about it. I was talking to him about just like the added pressures of making your debut under such circumstances, just in a playoff race. Rangers are looking to secure their position. I mean, there's pressure
Not
to
pressure.
that, though, no?
It's opportunity.
It's a little bit
changing
bold.
The whole narrative.
No, he agreed there was a little bit of pressure.
It's the best.
No, but it's
you know what
it's
pressure
impressive.
is? Pressure is a PTO when you have 3 kids.
Pressure's a privilege. That's what I thought you were gonna say.
Well, how do you make diamonds?
Poetic. But yeah, and if you also think about how Brandon Scanlin is probably, if you look at the Rangers depth chart on defense when they're healthy, I mean, Ben Harper's out, Connor Mackey's out. So he just kind of fell into this.
Mackey get hurt?
Mackey's
Yeah.
been hurt. Yeah.
Mackey hasn't. Yeah, Mackey's been out for
Mackey's been
over a
hurt for
month.
a while, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit further down the line, and again, added pressure. He's a little bit far removed from making his debut, but there he was in the middle of that game last night. But I thought he did pretty well, you know?
Yeah, he's been cooking down there. I like that. You know, you pay your dues, and this is what you get. Good for him. Congratulations. There's no easy road to get there. So that's great. I mean, it's not to be understated. You get to play your first NHL game. You're an NHLer now, forever.
I'm curious to see when the Rangers do get all of their defensemen back, how the D pairs are going to shake out. Larry, I'm curious to hear your take on that. Just considering how well Miller and Schneider have done together.
Yeah.
Jonesy.
And Jones has played really, really well.
Really
well.
I think there's a decision to be made, but I also whether to keep the Miller Schneider pair together and then play with the other two combinations, I guess. But I don't think this coach I just
don't think so either.
This coach is going to be ready to demote Jacob Trouba to the third pair. That's the reality of it. He'd be getting, he would be getting the sheltered matchups. He wouldn't be out against the first line. And I just don't think the coach wants that. I think coach wants Jacob Trouba to be playing 22, 23 minutes a game against top four. He wants Miller and Trouba to be their matchup pair. And I think it presents a great opportunity if things are going wrong. It presents a great opportunity to take a look at this next year. But I just don't think this is the coach who is going to start experimenting with shifting all his D pairs for the playoffs when he has had a first overall season generally with these pairs. He hasn't touched them unless there's been injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, like even talked last night, I asked Laviolette after the game, did he see the remaining part of the season as a runway to experiment? It's kind of used as a laboratory to experiment, see what works, see what might not work. And he said no. He doesn't like too much
he essentially
change.
said no.
He doesn't like, he likes, a little change here and there. If you do the same thing 30 days in a row, then you change it the 31st to catch.
He said it keeps it fresh.
Catches everyone's attention. But he's not a guy who likes change for change's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So it would surprise. Look, if we weren't talking about Jacob Trouba, then there's a different argument. But I don't think Jacob Trouba is going to be a third pair guy for the Rangers.
You got to have him out being mean and hurting people.
Yeah.
That's what he does. That's his skill set now. He big point guy in Winnipeg, and they got the point guys now on the D. Now he's got an element that no one else has back there. So that is what he's going to do for at least a third of the game, I think. There's a way to mix it. I don't know. I just think you go with what you know. And again, like Larry said, and like we were talking about, show me what this is a situation that happened organically. Show me your best. So now I have more information in case something has to change with the matchup or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a good fallback option if things don't,
and
from
certainly from the Rangers' perspective, you would hope that Schneider is able to take what he's been doing and keep it within himself when his assignment changes a little bit. And I think I think too that we know how much Laviolette likes Gustafsson, and he's played well all year. But I think the way Jones has played also creates a decision. Can Zach Jones break into the top six? I think that now becomes an option for them, where it really wasn't, a legitimate option 3 weeks ago.
Well,
And I
because he
think
was just really well practiced. Hasn't gotten any games.
Right.
Which is not, I mean, it's just kind of the way the chips fell. That's
Right.
how that team was constructed. I want to bring up one thing that happened in the game that I loved, and I don't know if you guys noticed. Did you guys notice on Trocheck's goal when they had the turnover in the D zone? He gave a little shot to, I think it was Konechny. Konechny fell down and created the 2-on-1.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just I don't know. I was so jacked up about that because it's a penalty, but it's not. It's like, oh, accidentally on purpose bumped into this guy that created a 2-on-1. A great little play from Mika, faking shot, going to his backhand right across the goal mouth for a one-time goal, and that's what all the replays showed. But
yeah, it was a great pass.
I backed it up this morning. I'm like, did he really? I don't know if he tripped or whatever. He just kind of bumped into, I think it was Konechny, and away they went all the way down the ice. And that screamed playoff to me. It's like, how do you manufacture space? How do you separate things like that? That was, I was so excited about that. Maybe that's just
no, I don't think it was just you.
Nerding out a little bit, but
no, I think that's Trocheck.
That's hockey IQ though. That's like gamesmanship, right? That's cheating. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Imagine that they play in Toronto.
You could coin that saying, right?
Right. But if you're not, Larry, what would happen? So remember Florida last year playing against Toronto, and the little stick hold from Radko Gudas that happens 50 times a game. The meltdown that the Toronto fans and media had about it. Like if the Rangers are playing Toronto and he bumps someone and goes down 2-on-1 and scores, that would be on loop for 2 days until the next game. I love stuff like that.
It's good stuff.
Maybe that's just me. Anyway.
No, you're not alone. You're not alone.
What else? How do we transition out of that? Sorry, guys. Coach is going to get a career high in points. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, I've written so many words about that line to begin with because it's just been such a fascinating unit this whole season. For everything from Artemi having his first 100-point season, setting a career high in goals, Alexis Lafreniere, same thing, and Vincent Trocheck just being the linchpin for it all.
And it wasn't designed that way.
No.
Yeah.
The team was designed with Philip Hedl in the middle of that line. Yeah. And look, maybe they would have been equally successful. I mean, remember the first couple of games they were passing the puck like they'd been together for 12 years.
Like the Globetrotters of hockey.
Yeah, and Vincent Trocheck, it's really interesting that Vincent Trocheck came to camp essentially having been demoted. Right? He was demoted out of the top 6.
Yep.
He lost his job. He wasn't going to play in the top 6. He started the season as their third line center. So they were able to respond to the injury. They were able to fill in, and so it's you spend all summer looking at line combinations and moving things around, and well, Hedl is going to be here. Well, then suddenly Hedel's not there, and they just never missed a beat.
I mean, Lafreniere last night.
Yeah, 2 bingos.
2 goals in the third period. I mean, he was putting the puck where he wanted it last night. Like he was if you watch the goals, he was putting it exactly where he wanted. Like he was feeling it last night. But he
was double shifting too last night.
Yeah.
He and Panarin were playing on both lines.
Yeah.
and I wonder whether Laviolette will be able to do that in a best of 7 series, in a best of 7, and then if you get to the second round when guys are just getting pounded and you're playing every other night, and
as I say, that's when you run your team into the ground.
Is he going to be able to double shift these guys the way he has a lot of the season, which also kind of surprised me about how quickly he was. Well, he recognizes as I think as Brian said, he coaches in the moment. He recognizes what's going on in front of him, and he recognizes that he has this phenomenon in Artemi Panarin, who he wants just to get him on the ice as often as he can.
All the time.
He just does. He wants to get Panarin on the ice as much as he can. And he hasn't abused it. It's not like we've been looking at Panarin playing 27 minutes a night, 26 minutes a night, or his shift lengths aren't a minute 20. It's manageable, but within the ecosystem, he wants him out there, and Trocheck's getting a ton of ice time too.
Yeah, so Troch is just the way he does it. We'll go back to him quick. I mean, he could play with anyone. He's got enough skill. He goes in straight lines, but he can make creative plays. He's deliberate, but he's got finesse to him, and he's gritty. And he's a gritty player.
He can be a pest.
Space.
He was pissing off the Flyers last night too.
Yeah, but he goes into a game like, you're stealing something from me, and I'm not going to let you. And that's, I think, an attitude everyone needs to have. And then Panarin is different. I can't. I have a hard time explaining it, but everyone knows he's on the ice, especially on the Rangers, and they get him the puck, and he goes to the places that get him the puck. When he handles it, it's different. It looks different than other players. He has it. There's any tape on his stick, drives me nuts. I don't know how he does what he does. It's just a God-given talent that this guy can. He's so creative. I mean, Hart Trophy votes for sure coming to him. That's going to be an interesting race, the Hart Trophy race. Not that
it really is.
It doesn't matter much, but he's, we're talking about Troch, who's a point a game, and Panarin has 30 more points than him. And they play on the same line.
Yep.
They're on the same power play.
Yep.
It's crazy. And you see that with Cooch in Tampa. Roman Yossi's making Nashville look like a contender now. I thought they were going to sneak in, and who knows? They around the league it's awesome.
Barry Trotz is Barry Trotz GM of the
Gregory Award.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they all got grounded. They all got grounded, and they won't lose again.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad were mad. Go to your room. Don't lose for a month and a half.
Simple as that.
18 straight without losing in regulation.
That's impressive.
Vegas. Anyways, this is a Rangers podcast. What are you doing, Brian? I just one more. Shot volume was high against a couple leaky goals, I thought. Let's go, Larry. What do you got?
I thought, honestly, I think I turned to Mollie at one point during the game, and I said, "This is kind of like they're playing this like an exhibition game."
Yeah,
I know that, and then it just ramped up in the third period, and I just don't think. Look, they went through a grinder in Boston. I thought they played almost a perfect structured game, perfectly structured game in Boston. So they win in Boston. Then they come back 2 nights later, and they come back and beat Florida, right? The team that I think everyone agrees presents the biggest obstacle to them in a best of 7, because they're just so physical, because they're relentless, because they come and they come and they come. So, and the Rangers come back and win that game. So I think, I think the Flyers was just a different specimen in front of them. It was kind of a loose game. So I look at the deficiencies on the defensive side of the puck, and maybe 1 or 2 that got by Igor.
Igor was pissed.
I shrugged my shoulders and say, you know what, they committed themselves to winning the game, but they kind of at the same time, they didn't have this kind of urgency they did against Boston and Florida. And I understood it. I did. I understood it. I think the fact that they won the game was almost remarkable.
Yeah, it definitely was. That was a desperate
against this team that's desperate. And I'm sure on the Flyers side, they think this is unbelievable. We got a point against against this team, that just turned it on against us whenever they felt like it. So
like I was about to say, as if they just decided.
yeah,
No,
I just thought it was kind of like probably a feel good game for the Rangers.
I just worried about the goalie because it's, hopefully just maybe
he was pissed.
One more test like that. Yeah. And then see how he responds, I guess, because I mean, Konechny's goal, what a shot, quick release. I don't like Lawton blowing one by him though.
Right.
And Tippett's goal, I guess, like it's a backhander. It came off weird off the post, off his back. I just saw him kind of flopping around a little bit. Maybe it was.
I was surprised. You know what? I was surprised he played in the game. Not that.
Yeah, you said that. I thought maybe.
Yeah, because Jonathan Quick is going. The next time he plays, he'll be going for the record for wins by a U.S. born goalie, and I just thought it would be something, that would be a nice milestone for him to achieve at home. But obviously, that's not the plan, and you're not going to you're not going to deviate from the plan. So my guess really is that they lined it up for Quick to play in Colorado, and they didn't.
Or Arizona, you mean?
Or in Arizona.
Yeah.
No,
Colorado. Have fun. Have fun in Colorado.
You don't think they'll put Igor against Colorado?
Well, I would have, but then I don't understand why Quick wouldn't have played last night. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I see what you're saying, but I think Igor will play.
I meant Colorado.
Yeah. I feel like Igor will play Colorado and Quick will get Arizona. No.
Well, that's why I thought Quick would play against the Flyers and Igor would play, but that he didn't. I don't think it had. Again, maybe Quick would have given up 12. Against Philly the way they played, but I was just surprised from just from the standpoint of the milestone. But again, you're not going to put and certainly Jonathan Quick isn't. No player is going to put. No team is going to put. A personal milestone ahead of a plan to go into the playoffs. So I'm not being critical of it. I was just surprised.
Colorado at home. Jeez. That's another one we can talk about on a different podcast, I guess, because this is the Rangers podcast. But McKinnon is like that's a different story. 77 points at home. My God. Cool. Well, I think we covered it all.
Mm-hmm.
Go Rangers. That was certainly entertaining. Stinks for the beat writers because a bit boring for 40 minutes of game time. And then
the stress level was high in the third period last night. That's for sure.
No pressure, though. It's opportunity. Let's write some cool stuff.
Pressure. No, lots of pressure. Lots of pressure.
It was an opportunity for Mollie. It was.
There you go. Good. Awesome. Well, Larry.
Yeah.
Thanks again. Thanks for
this is an opportunity for me.
An opportunity for you to get out of here.
Yeah, it is.
Always appreciate your insights, man.
All right.
Great to see you. You got Boiling Point coming up next. All right. Boiling Point's a little different today. We have there's a lot of buzz going on around a certain player in the league, and for all the wrong reasons. Now, Zach Hyman is an awesome kid. I got to play with him in Toronto, and he had an awesome milestone hit this year. Got 50 goals. He never even got 40. So the narrative around him first was, look where he scores his goals from. And I don't care. I don't know why people want to criticize someone for scoring 50 goals or how they get it. There's a skill involved to being in the right place and finishing. If scoring 50 was easy, everyone would do it. He's an incredible player. He's an incredible worker. He's got a great attitude. It brings me to my next point. There's some rhetoric or talk out there that Zach Hyman is where he is because of his family's wealth. Now, my argument, and I'm trying to stay on the rails here, is if he had such a privilege, if he was so rich that things were given to him, how does he perform in the National Hockey League, the hardest, best league in the world, and succeed? He does it because he's a driven individual. He's been put in places where he's had to get better to succeed. Now, if you want to argue that when he was young, he had different opportunities, okay. But if you tell me that a young person was given the will or given the skill to perform in the NHL, you're out of your mind. It is too hard. I've said it before, but no parent can wish their kid to do well in a sport or in any endeavor. It has to come from within the person. So whether Zach Hyman got to the University of Michigan on his own merit or not, he performed there and did well. He was drafted to the NHL. He signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he did well. He got better every year, and he's done well because Zach Hyman is a driven individual. He's a great teammate. If you watch how after he scored his 50th goal, how his teammates reacted, you'd understand that. So the narrative behind any excuse as to how or why, taking any credit away from Zach Hyman really gets me to my boiling point because it's all him. He's done it every single day. He's trained. He's tried to get better. He's worked harder, and nothing can be taken from him. You can try to. You can say things online. You can say whatever you want. Just know that you're wrong. He's a great kid, and congratulations, Zach Hyman, for what you've done and what you're going to continue to do because you are that driven. That's all I got for that. And that will put a wrap on episode 150 of Up in the Blue Seats, our Rangers podcast from the New York Post. Mollie, let's dish out our 3 stars.
I'm going to go with the bread man, Artemi Panarin, 102 points on the season, first 100-point campaign of his career. I would just like to say that I called it in November.
You did?
I did.
You really went out on a limb there when you had a point every game.
No, but come on. You gotta give me some credit.
No, he did. Yeah, he kept it up too. That was
like he came out different this season.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just the fact that he had a shaved head. He came out, he just looked different on the ice. He looked like he had a different mindset. And I feel like that's played out all season long. He's made everybody on his line that much better. Just an unbelievable season. Another great game for him. And, 102 points and still counting.
Yeah, career years for everybody on that line.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 star goes to the left winger, the right winger. They play offsides, don't they? Whatever. Lafreniere, Alexis Lafreniere. This guy, 2 bingos last night. He is a different player. It takes time, fans. It takes time when you're not a complete burner who can just fly around. He is a cerebral player. He's going to get better and better. I think he's scratching the surface still, honestly, and he's playing with an attitude like it's like he belongs. He should be up there, and he's going to be a difference maker. So I really like what I'm seeing from Alexis Lafreniere. And who do we have for number 3?
Peter Laviolette, 800 wins, the man at the top of the team. I mean, especially if they go far in this playoffs or whatever they might do, I think that Peter Laviolette deserves a good portion of the credit for what he's done with this team this season. I think that he really established a culture and just a vibe in the team in general that this group really needed coming off the last 2 coaches. He tapped something in this group, and whether it be their post-practice hugs at center ice or whatever it may be, he really has fostered a great culture on this team that they've all bought into from day one.
Yeah, coach has to empower his players, has to give them roles, and has to understand how to sort of light a fire if you have to. He's great. He's a great motivator. He's great with his structure. Good Massachusetts man. Give him credit. I was excited about the signing. Congrats to 800 wins. Peter Laviolette, 3rd star.
Woohoo.
Those are good stars today.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Good for us, Brian.
All right. Thanks to Jake Brown for producing the show. Jake, we want to get you in here sometime, maybe next couple shows. I want to hear some of your takes. Anyways, you can catch up on all episodes of the podcast by subscribing to Up in the Blue Seats on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on the New York Post Sports YouTube page. You can watch me read this right now. My head is buried in my phone. You can subscribe there, give us a thumbs up below, and comment. How do you feel about the Rangers being the best team in the NHL right now? Points-wise, they are. All right, for Mollie Walker, Larry Brooks, I am Brian Boyle. Thanks for listening and watching Up in the Blue Seats. Talk to you next week.